Mace here with your weekly golf tip. Hopefully your golf grips and your posture and your grip pressure is all getting better, working in front of your golf mirror at home or using your bar stool. Today we're going to talk about something that most of you either don't understand or have trouble doing, and that's aiming the golf club and the golf body at your intended target. Too many of you are in the syndrome of ready, fire, and then aim. And we need to get that sequence such that it is ready, aim, then fire. And this will be all part of your procedure or your routine that we will work on later time on another golf tip. Many of you come to us golf pros and say, "Pro, having a great time on the driving range. I've hit every shot perfect, and then as soon as I get on the golf course, I end up hitting it in the woods, into the trees, into the water, into the bunker." Definitely not like you practicing on the driving range. One of the issues that many of you have on the driving range, and that's what we'll start with first, is you really aren't actually aiming at something. Many of you get up on the driving range, and as you're hitting those perfect 7-irons and perfect drivers, you're thinking you're aiming at something, but before long, because you don't have anything laid down, you're actually aimed away from it. Your mind is so smart, it actually starts changing your swing around. Because many of you have also said, "Mace, I've got this great big huge slice, and then all of a sudden I hit this big pull." Well, that's because, again, you've grooved a swing because of your inability to aim correctly on the driving range. That makes it hard for you to hit good shots on the golf course. So anytime you're on the driving range, and we'll get to this in a little bit here, a lot of you use these little sticks out there, or maybe you use a golf club, but we need to do something so that we know exactly where we're aiming every single time. So don't be afraid to lay those on the ground. Make sure they're parallel. Parallel means they're running the same direction, same distance apart. That way, when you are practicing on the driving range, you're hopefully hitting exactly where you think you're aiming at, rather than thinking you're aiming at the blue flag, but you're really aimed at the red flag, and because of that, your swing is then working itself such that it goes maybe a little bit over the top or cutting across the line and pulls it back to the blue flag. So that's one thing that you need to work on to get your golf game from the driving range to the golf course. So now let's talk about actually aiming. Now, most of you find some target to aim at. Now, it's not necessarily always going to be the golf flag. It may be something off in the distance. It might be a tree, might be a bunker, it might be the edge of a bunker or the edge of a pond, and you're trying to work the ball one way or another, but you always have something that you're aiming at. So as we're doing this alignment, the most important part of alignment is the club face. This is what hits the golf ball. The body doesn't hit the golf ball, the club face hits the golf ball. So we need to make sure that the club face is aligned correctly or square to our intended line or our intended target. Now, I'm going to try to get up here a little bit close. This is called the leading edge of the golf club, and it's called the leading edge of the golf club because it leads the club face. Too many of you have a tendency to aim this top edge, and we need you to aim this bottom edge. And as you can see mine, hopefully a little bit at the bottom, I have my set of pings here, and there's a white line on the bottom. Too many of you are aiming the top edge, and when you do that, you're actually aiming a little bit more to the left rather than square. Too many left, need it to be square. Also, by making sure that club face is where it's supposed to be, now you get the true loft or pitch of the club. That's the angle that's formed right here. If I'm aiming this too far to the left, you can see immediately I've turned my 9-iron into a 7-iron. So we need to make sure this 9-iron's truly at its proper loft, and again, leading edge of the club face is what I'm going to aim first. Now, what am I aiming at? Well, on the right side, you can see down below here, and I'm going to bring it a little bit closer for you, I've got two little lines here. I've got a target line, that's the imaginary line. If you could take a 2-inch piece of masking tape and draw that all the way from your golf ball to your intended target, that's called the target line. Parallel left, or just exactly the same distance apart, is called the body line, and that's where I'm going to put my feet, my knees, my hips, my shoulders all in line to that body line. The target line again is where I'm aiming the leading edge. Now to give you a little better visual, I've also drawn it right in here so you can see where we've got our target line, and again that's where the club face is going to be aiming at, and then we've got our body line, and that's where our feet are aimed at. Looks like a set of railroad tracks is what we're trying to visualize here as much as we can. That's where we need to be.